What you're seeing is Milwalkee, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. A house is set on fire. Now, this story is utterly and entirely phenomenal. Shocking, stunning, dramatic, tense. Basically, girls go missing. Black girls go missing. The community believes that the cops does not care about black girls because they believe that white women or white girls will get an Amber Alert faster than a black child. I would wager this is probably true, believe it or not. If it's true that African Americans, white people sell drugs more, and yet blacks are prosecuted more with longer jail sentences, I don't know why it would be any different from the standpoint of an Amber Alert when you still have this kind of implicit bias, if not an overt bias in this case. They go to the cops and tell the cops, our kids are missing. The cops just bupkis. The cops go to a house that they believe is the problem, so they don't do bupkis. But in going to the house, they don't get any evidence of anything. They say, we don't see anything, we don't have anything. The community forms a group, and they're very angry and very upset. And as they form this group and form this, large number of people who are out there, the house is torched. Now, at this point, the cops start to tear gas and pepper spray the crowd. The crowd also, however, forms a mob or posse. Now, that posse goes from house to house looking for those young girls that are missing. These guys are checking each house and trying to find those kids.
You an adult? We don't know their name.
So it may be misinformation. We got to check because if your babies was missing, we'll check too. Yeah, no, for sure.
You the homeowner of this house?
No, I rent.
Okay, you're from this house? Yeah. Well, just to let you know, people were saying that runaway and missing kids come to y'all house, and this is a spot. So,
And they still got
y'all address is out there.
over $1 million more.
Hello? Who got the picture of them girls? You want to go? Yes, ma'am. We just checking. We got a whole nother situation on 40 of that.
Now, they go through the neighborhood. They find the girls, 2 missing girls, but they also find 2 additional missing girls. Now, the cops don't quite like this. I mean, they were basically doing the cops' job for the cops. And it's still believed that the house that they torched had some connection to it, even though it's an alleged connection. But at this point, they believe that they might have stumbled upon a child sex ring, and that many of these girls that were being basically caught and used for child sex. They found evidence in the house. They said something had like bloody shorts or something. And this story is phenomenal. By the way, when the people go to the house originally, the one that they set on fire, those people shoot outside the house. So think of it as people are knocking on the door, people are angry, people are upset, they believe the cops aren't doing their jobs, they don't believe the cops care about them in their communities. So keep in mind, the only reason they did this is because the cops wasn't doing their jobs. And they full well believed that the cops and police force wasn't helping them and didn't care about them. And because they believed it didn't necessarily care about them, they took matters into their own hands. What do you expect them to do? Do you expect that community to stand pat while their kids get apprehended and taken, and their police force, the organization that is supposed to actually do that job to prevent the very thing that took place with the posse being formed? Well, you did your job, the posse wouldn't have been formed. This is like anything else in our society. Oftentimes, we have these situations that erupt because some element, some edifice, some infrastructure didn't necessarily do what we expected it to do, either in keeping people in their houses, either in making sure people are well, or in this case, doing their job in finding missing children. If the community members found those kids, why couldn't the cops? Not just those kids, but 2 additional kids. This story is phenomenal. When the people went to the door, the people who were in there shot out. Basically, 3 people were shot in conjunction with this case. All of this took place in the window of several hours. You had a riot, or at very least cops and going after the protesters. You had people shot, meaning those people shooting out the house. You had cops going into the house and apprehending the people that were shooting out the house. You had those people being arrested. You had people flooding that house, looking for evidence, and then eventually setting that house on fire, which caused the police to basically flip out. And at that point, they were tear gassing and shooting everybody up with the tear gas and pepper spray. On top of that, a mob, Posse, I should call it, they were cordial. They were, they weren't necessarily belligerent. But as they went house to house, searching through the neighborhood, they eventually find what they're looking for. And they find the young girls and 2 additional girls. The story is mind-blowing. I don't entirely, I would imagine they're investigating this case. And like I said, the cops are not entirely happy with this because they consider it vigilante justice. But again, it's vigilante justice because there wasn't justice. I hope you understand what I mean. The entire reason that this took place, that these guys came together like this, and by the way, this is not a for or against. It's more so I understand. If my kid was missing, I would hope a group will help me find my kid also. I would imagine any parent would want their kid found. And if they believe that the cops weren't doing it, what is a community to do? Especially when they're looking at it as the cops are not doing their jobs. Not specifically in one case, but almost systemically, especially in their regard. You must understand, I really do want this world where the value of one kid is equal to the value of another. And in the same way, people would have a large amount of consternation when one kid goes missing, that same energy and verve is put into finding the kid of another race. I know it's something to do with that kid doesn't look like me, so I don't entirely identify it, so it's not as a pressing issue. And I suspect that happens when cops are working or engaging with blacks, and it's like, this guy doesn't look like me, this guy's the other, and in which case they tend to be, let's say, more hostile towards one as opposed to another. Whatever that is, I want that to fail. I want that to fall. They shouldn't have had to do this. Whether you think it's right or wrong, they shouldn't have had to do this. The entire point of cops, in some part anyway, is to settle the issues that erupt from basically issues of poverty. In this case, it was sex trafficking, so it wasn't necessarily an issue of poverty. It was the issue of sex trafficking or pedophilia. But either way, I hope you get my point. If the neighbors found them, why couldn't the cops? Why couldn't the cops? I remember one time I had a surgery when I was younger. I think I was around 18. We have stomach pains. It's not too bad, but it is bad. And we go in to get it checked. And the doctor, clearly an alcoholic, looks at me and said, well, he doesn't look too bad. And I'm sitting in the room. They give me, I think, pain medications or something. And they're doing a treatment. They're doing dialysis. And the doctor rushes back in and says, we need to do surgery immediately. Now, the thing is, I don't present all that much. Meaning when something is wrong, it doesn't necessarily present forcefully. And so something can be wrong and be bad and not necessarily present in the way that it is actually acting in practice. He does the surgery. And like I said, the guy's a drunk. And as he does the surgery, it goes horribly. He fucks up royally. He fucks up royally where my stomach was damaged for several years into the future. I think it was like 2 or 3 years until one of the other surgeons that did a transplant actually went in and fixed the issue and was shocked at how bad it was and was shocked that the guy did what he did. My mom making the point that if you could get it, why couldn't he? And does it have anything to do with him being an alcoholic? I feel the same about this. If that surgeon can get it, why couldn't he? If those people with no detective experience can go form a community, come together, and go house to house and find those girls within a weekend, why couldn't the cops? Like, share, subscribe.